Hi, Helen Clare Gould here, and I'm just reading a little piece from chapter 2 of The Invisible Dance, which I wasn't able to read properly last week at the White Horse Writers open No, it wasn't open mic night. It was a meeting, and basically my internet kept cutting out while the Zoom meeting was on, so I said I would record this and post it on their website. So this is from chapter 2 of The Invisible Dance. Bye smiled. I take it you're feeling a bit better. Better enough to feel at a disadvantage, lying almost naked in bed. Her gaze clashed with his. But if you're going to be invisible to take me to my job at Roadplan, how will we hire a car and all that? I may not need to be invisible, in which case we can hire an air car and get there very quickly, about 3 or 4 days. He shrugged. If we're discovered by our enemies, we both have to become invisible. You might be able to do that, but I can't. You can if you're with me, he said. Don't worry, I promised I'd keep you safe, and I will. The dizziness returned momentarily. Noreen sat down. I don't understand, she said. They didn't say I was going to be in danger just getting to my new job, never mind doing it. They probably thought you wouldn't come to Akakara if they were totally honest about the political situation here, Bai said. He sat down partway up the bed, yawning. Noreen saw the shadows under his eyes. Why don't you go and lie down, she suggested, if there wasn't a problem with the car. No, it's fine. It's in the garaging below the hotel, so it's security protected. He yawned again. I think I will, if you don't mind. Just for an hour or so. What about me? Can I do anything? Do you feel okay to get some shopping? Just provisions for the journey. Fruit, bread, meat, cheese, that sort of stuff. Whatever you fancy, really. There's a human-safe supermarket in the next road. You should be safe enough in the city since it's a human settlement. We have our Père Huai to thank for that. Your what? Our ruler, our leader. He's a human. He united all the tribes. Bai smiled again. I know it sounds confusing, but I will explain. But for now, you're right. I'm sorry, I must rest. Which direction is this shop in? You'll see the lift at the end of the corridor. Go out of the hotel foyer and turn left. Cross the road at the corner, then turn so that you're walking parallel to the way you've come. The shop's halfway down the street. He went into his room, then came out again with something in his hand. Here's some money. I've got a card. He shook his head. We don't use those here. Besides, cash is untraceable. Take these notes. Get enough for about 5 or 6 days. We still might have to go on foot. He hesitated. Are you sure you're up to going out and getting supplies? I'm sure. Besides, the fresh air will do me good. All right then. Here's the key to the suite. Go out through your door, and then if anybody is watching, they'll have no reason to connect us. Noreen took the key. His hand felt warm and dry. Have a good rest, she said. She tucked the notes into the change pocket of her jeans, slipped her feet into sandals, then opened the door and went out. The corridor was cool after the sunlit room. It was dim too, but after a moment her eyes became accustomed to the lower light levels, and she saw the rectangular metal door at the other end of the corridor. In the foyer, a slightly chubby man with a moustache and a faint accent asked her if she was feeling better. I'm Sergei, he explained, the manager. You were unconscious when Bai brought you in the other night. We had to carry you between us. Noreen felt her skin grow hot. I'm fine now, she said quickly. I'm just going to get some shopping. Oh, yes, the supermarket's just in the next road. He waved a hand in a vague direction. If you need anything, just ask my wife or me. We'll be very happy to help you. Bai is a good friend of ours. Thank you. Noreen felt somewhat overwhelmed and was glad to make her escape. It wasn't until she got outside that it occurred to her that Sergei might think there was something between her and Bai, and her cheeks felt like searing meat. She began to walk left along the road as Bai had directed her. At the corner there was a cafe where people sat drinking. They looked human, but then so had Bai, until she'd noticed his eyes. She began to wonder about the other tribes. At least, Bai had implied that there were more than just the one. She stood at the curb, watching a car approach. There didn't seem to be a system of driving on either the right or left here. Cars just drove up the middle of the road and somehow avoided each other. Perhaps it was built into their programming. She was very conscious of the alienness of the city. Even though it was supposed to be a human settlement, something about it felt peculiar. The cars were so quiet that she could hear the slap-slap of people's feet on the pavements. Although the cafe customers had obviously been talking, she hadn't heard individual words, just a quiet murmur. How weird. A car whispered past as she stepped off the curb on the crossing. Then she noticed an old man watching her speculatively. He didn't look like Bai, but he didn't look human either. She wondered if he'd instinctively identified her as an off-worlder as well. Evidently he had. He walked purposefully towards her, and as he approached she saw that there wasn't a hair on his head or face, not even eyebrows. His skin was puckered with tiny indentations, giving him a curiously undefined appearance. He didn't speak, which was just as well, since Nerine wouldn't have understood him. There was something repellent about him. Nerine might have smiled and nodded had she been at home in New York, but here in this city on an alien world, she suddenly felt somewhat afraid. There was something dripping from his shopping bag. Blood. As he got closer, Nerine's natural helpfulness reasserted itself, and she pointed to it. "They haven't wrapped your meat very well," she said. The old man leered at her and opened the shopping bag, pointing inside it at the same time, and pushed it towards her repeatedly. She couldn't help herself. This man was a stranger and could be dangerous, but she had to know if he was any threat. She peered into the open bag. Inside the bag lay a hand, obviously newly cut off from the pool of blood surrounding it. A hand whose skin was as dark a red as the blood it was smeared with. She stepped back a pace, stunned. Nerine thought of Bai, resting for the first time in days back at the hotel. Surely the old man hadn't come from there. And if he hadn't, and she abandoned her shopping trip and returned there immediately, wouldn't the old man know exactly where to find them both? Apart from which, they would have no provisions to take with them. Nerine's decision was made. She averted her face and crossed the rest of the road at a brisk walk, expecting a chill touch on her back at any moment. On the far pavement she began to jog, though her legs signalled their resistance to this treatment so soon after her illness, by sending cramps shooting through her calves. Yet she dared not stop, afraid that the man had been lying in wait for her and was going to follow her into the supermarket. She couldn't miss it. There were crates of fruit displayed on the pavements outside the dim interior. A green and white curtain of plastic strips kept insects out along with prying eyes. She hesitated and looked back up the street. There was no sign of the old man. But is it safe to go into the shop? Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that extract, and I look forward to reading some more at some point. Thank you so much. Bye.